Yeah? Now just why might you be looking for me, I'm the 77th director of the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor, Hu Tao. I gotta find something fun to do. Have you seen Qiqi?
Stop right there, criminal scum!
Hey yo, what the fuck?
Nice.
If you need some assistance, I'm here to give it my all to the very end.
How's it going, bros? My name is P. Welcome back to the series where I lazily attempt to be both informational and comedic at the same time and pretend I know what I'm doing. I finally have a pure Pyro DPS character, which rounds out my 5-star DPS characters. Oh, finally. Yeah, no, she's still a 5-star in my heart. Hu Tao is the 77th director of the Wangsheng Funeral Parlor, a prankster at heart with finesse and a logical person most of the time. She heads the parlor with progressive practices and views while also holding on to traditional ideals of protecting the border between life and death. She is one of the most anticipated characters to be released in Genshin due to her mass leaks and famous voice actor representing her. Wow, okay,
Bazinga!
And wow, is she fun to play.
I'm fast as fuck, boy!
In-game, she is the most mobile damage carry who is able to output deluge levels of damage, with a focus on single target damage. In any case, she is focused around maintaining her HP and stamina to optimally output her damage in her Paramita Papillo state, while also surviving with small amounts of HP to fully abuse her damage bonuses. Her Constellation simply aids her damage in some sort of way, Constellation 1 being the most notable. Because of stamina limitations, provided you have a Constellation 0 Hu Tao, she becomes both hard to learn and hard to master, as positioning becomes extremely important. It is that difficulty curve, which is why I'm here to tell you what it is like to be Hu Tao, and how to play her, and all the fun stuff. Let's just get started.
Hey Zhangli, I got you some of this wine you won't shut up about. Wanna try some?
Osmanthus wine tastes the same as I remember. But where are those who share?
I like to drink!
Qiqi, want some?
No.
Wait, come back, I had coconut milk!
You have coconut milk?
Hu Tao's inherent passive is a cooking passive called the more the merrier. On the surface level, it seems to be a bad passive as it creates a suspicious duplicate of the type of food you are making, which other characters can do the same, but instead they make it flawlessly. However, this passive extends not to just one facet of cooking, but to all facets of cooking. And it has a +6 chance of creating a duplicate in comparison to the rest of the inherent talents. She can create duplicate defense, offense, and healing foods, and I must mention that she's the only character in the game so far who's able to duplicate stamina foods.
Wow!
All of a sudden, making suspicious food isn't too bad, yeah. I should also mention that suspicious foods are not really that bad in the first place, so go ham. Now that we've taken a look at her inherent passive, it's time to talk about her actual fighting abilities. I will make sure to simplify whenever possible so that you guys will be able to understand the gist of it all without, looking at, oh, look at these numbers, look at those numbers, wow. The basis of Hu Tao's playstyle is embedded within her second passive, Sanguine Rogue. This passive is pretty simple, and it states that she will gain a 33% pyro damage bonus if her current HP is under 50%. Basically, this passive incentivizes her playstyle of weaving around the battlefield with charge attacks, as getting hit while under 50 HP could lead to fatal conclusions, and you don't want that to happen. However, in order to activate this passive without getting hit, look no further than her elemental ability Guide to Afterlife. This ability consumes 30% of Hu Tao's HP and converts a portion of her max HP into attack damage. Note that this conversion cannot be more than 4 times her normal attack. Her ability puts Hu Tao into the Paramita Papillo state, which is simply a pyro weapon infusion that changes all her attacks into pyro damage. This is similar to Child's Raging Tide ability, but instead of a stance change, it's simply an elemental infusion. However, there is one thing that changes in her attacks, and that's her charge attack. Compared to her normal charge attack, her Paramita Papillo charge attack is quicker and longer, allowing her to weave through the battlefield with ease. The Paramita Papillo state lasts for around 9 seconds, however, in reality, when, accounting for literally everything such as hit lag and its actual practicality is around 10 to 11 seconds in normal play. To optimize both her damage and her mobility, Hu Tao utilizes 3 main combos, the N1C, the N2CJ, and finally the N3C. The N1C is a simple auto into a charge attack. That should be self-explanatory enough. Additionally, you can cancel the charge attack into a buffered dash for even more mobility, or a jump if you want to stop the dash midway. If you do use a dash to cancel the charge attack, do take into account the stamina usage, as it uses 48 stamina on a Constellation 0 Hu Tao, so you will lose your stamina really quickly. In that case, settle for the N2CJ, which is performed with 2 autos into a charge and a jump. You can actually cancel the charge attack 5 frames after it started, which is actually around 1/12 of a second. The attack damage of the N2CJ will immediately go out, and you can keep canceling it over and over again. Due to that, you'll be able to output much more damage that way in trade of mobility. The final combo is the N3C, which is 3 autos into a charge attack. This is the limit of which you should combo, otherwise you will start dealing much less damage if you don't do them. In addition, her charge attack will apply a mark known as a Blood Blossom. This mark deals a tick of pyro damage every 4 seconds and is removed after 8 seconds, which means it does 2 ticks of pyro damage over its duration. However, there are certain circumstances that will or will not add a tick of damage when the blossom is reapplied during its duration. The ticks do not snapshot Hu Tao's stats when the blossom is applied, meaning that the damage from the ticks will be based off of Hu Tao's present HP instead of when she actually applied the mark, which makes the blossoms pretty lackluster actually. However, with her Constellation 2, Ominous Rainfall, the Blood Blossom will do an extra 10% snapshotted damage based on her current HP when it's applied. This allows Hu Tao to become one of the most viable burst supports in the game. Speaking of support, her first passive, Flutterby, grants the rest of Hu Tao's team an extra 12% crit rate whenever her Paramita Papillo stance ends, be it cooldown, swapping characters, or natural causes.
Baba Booey.
The fuck you say to me, you little shit?
This 12% crit rate does not apply to herself. This allows the rest of the team to deal an extra DPS while Hu Tao is on cooldown. It's honestly as simple as that. In addition, her Constellation 4 Garden of Eternal Rest also grants this bonus whenever you kill an enemy marked by a Blood Blossom. Let's also quickly talk about her Constellation 6. Butterfly's Embrace is mostly used as both a safety net and a massive buff for a Hu Tao carry. Butterfly's Embrace triggers when Hu Tao is dealt a lethal hit, is put under 25% HP, or is at 1 HP. Her resistances double and her crit skyrockets to 100%, and it's great for jumping off tall mountains without worrying, because, it's not like gliding's a thing. With such low health, you'd think there'd be a way to heal Hu Tao with a healer. Well, Hu Tao is that healer. Her burst, Spirit Soother, slaps everyone with a ghost around her, simultaneously dealing pyro damage and healing her with an amount depending on her max HP. The heal will also depend on how many enemies she hits. This burst does more damage and healing if you're under 50% HP, which combined with Sanguine Rogue is quite a lot. Wow, okay. It is a great burst to complement her low HP playstyle, which gives you extra options of whether to brave out during a fight with low HP, or to use your burst as a dual purpose damage burst and safety net to keep yourself alive. Ominous Rainfall has a second part that applies the Blood Blossom through her burst, although when combined with Constellation 4 it doesn't really do anything. You still have to kill the enemy in order to gain the crit rate. That's her abilities. That's how they work, fun. Fun.
Hey Qiqi, you wanna know why this spear is called the Death Match?
How do you scream again?
Next, let's talk about what you should be building on Hu Tao. I will take into account newer players and slowly transition into optimum builds so you have a guide on how to make your Hu Tao as best as you possibly can. Starting out with the best weapon, you should be looking for the White Tassel from the get-go. It is a 3-star weapon, it's pretty easy to get, you should be able to find one at some point early on. Crit rate is especially sparse for new players, so finding and utilizing a White Tassel is a very nice start. Obviously there will always be better weapons in this one, but for general purposes this is the best start you can get. The next one is the Lithic Spear. Okay, the next on the list. Okay, let me just say why this is not optimal. 1. passive is underwhelming. 2. Attack percent stat. Hu Tao scales terribly with attack percent. If you want to be building Hu Tao, you don't look at her attack percent stats. You want to look at her crit rate, her crit damage, and her HP. Those are the big parts of Hu Tao. Moving on, Blackcliff Polearm. The best free-to-play polearm due to its crit damage stat and its passive that works pretty well with Hu Tao's kit. If you have terrible gacha luck and don't have the other polearms that I put on this list, by all means go for this spear. Dragon's Bane is situationally good due to it working well with a vaporized team, such as a Xingqiu support. This weapon is very nice for this certain type of team composition. The best weapon for her that's not a 5-star is the Deathmatch, which is bought through the Battle Pass. This weapon is a literal stat stick, meaning it just gives you raw stats that simply just outperforms almost any other polearm under it, except Dragon's Bane, in which it's a little bit more situational. And we got the 5-star spears, and one of them is definitely better than the other. Just kidding, it's not even a contest. Obviously, the Jade Wing Spear is superior to every other polearm preceding it. In reality, the Staff of Homa is just specifically made for Hu Tao. The extra HP and crit damage it grants is immense, and its passive supplements her playstyle so hard, you can effectively slap people with a pyro-infused truck. Now that you know what weapons you should be looking for, let's talk about her talents. For a DPS Hu Tao, you start off by maxing all her talents to level 6. That is the bare minimum. Level her attack talent to level 8. Do the same with her ability, and repeat for both of these abilities to level 10. Finally, after all that, you can max her burst. For those looking to turn her into a burst support, most of these people are whales, max her ability and then her burst in a similar fashion as mentioned earlier. Artifacts! Woo! Let's talk about artifacts. Most of the time when you are starting out in Genshin, it's much better to look for main stats rather than sets, as many of the sets are Regardless, I should tell you what you should be looking for in your artifacts, and there you go. Obviously, the feather and the flower are a given, as they always give flat HP and flat attack. For the sands, it's HP percent instead of attack percent compared to many other DPS characters due to how Hu Tao's ability turns HP into attack. Next is a pyro damage bonus goblet, which is pretty self-explanatory. Note that if you're new to the game and don't have one yet, just use an attack percent goblet. It's the next best thing. Finally, the circlet is the most circumstantial due to how it depends on what artifacts and weapons you have. Always try to abide by the golden 1 crit rate for 2 crit damage rule, or if you get the 50% crit rate soft cap, you can start spamming your crit damage as much as possible. Most of the time, if you have a weapon that does not have crit rate, then look for a crit rate helmet. This is true for the Staff of Homa as well. This is the opposite for a crit rate weapon like Deathmatch or Jade Wing, so in that case, you get a crit damage helmet. Substats simply consist of these, which are very, very important late game rather than early game, so if you're under AR 45, then don't bother with these. The next thing you want to look for is an artifact set. Early on, the best thing to look for is a 2-piece martial art and 2-piece berserker set, which will give you the small amounts of crit rate you'll need and the extra normal attack damage that Hu Tao can abuse. Once you have solid access to 5-star artifacts, which is AR 45, start to look for a better artifact set such as these 3. The 2-piece Gladiator, Wanderer, and Noblesse are normally obtained through natural progression to ascended characters, or when you're finding artifacts for damage supports such as Xingqiu. However, the 2-piece Crimson Witch is a must due to its extra pyro damage bonus. What you should really be looking for is a 4-piece Crimson Witch set. Even though she cannot utilize the entirety of its passive, it's still the best nonetheless. You can also go Lava Walker for Geo-Pyro mono comps, Raging Bolide if you want, or even Thundering Fury, as it's the only artifact set that gives her 100% uptime, but it needs heavy team investment. Once you get to the point where you're looking for 5-star artifacts, it is always best to look for an artifact raider like this one. I'll put the link down in the description below.
Knock knock.
Who's there?
Who?
Who?
Hu Tao.
Ah.
Oh, okay.
Team compositions. Oh boy, is there a box? There's an entire box to just open. Hu Tao's team compositions fall into 2 main categories. Does it have Xingqiu or does it not have Xingqiu? Yeah, I'm very creative. Yeah, thank you. I'll be here all night. Thank you. Starting with the Xingqiu compositions, they normally abuse the vaporize or melt reaction, which allows Hu Tao to deal massive amounts of damage due to how melt and vaporize amplify your damage by either 1.5 or 2 times the damage. The additions of Kaya and a Constellation 2 Zhongyun is an example of Hu Tao's melt team, specifically called the Low Life Hu Tao. The Constellation 2 Chongyun lowers the party's cooldown when he uses his ability, allowing the rest of the team to spam their bursts and abilities with relative ease. This makes Hu Tao low health most of the time since she's spamming it all the time, which abuses the Staff of Homa the most. So if you have Staff of Homa, look for this composition. You could replace the Constellation 2 Chongyun with one of these characters to provide a different buff for your team. Zhongli for fat shields, Iona for a cryo resonance and shields, or Sucrose for the suck. These teams are called the Thick Hu Tao, which abuses her mass HP pool to keep her Sanguine Rogue buff online. Her mono comp team is also based around Thick Hu Tao to provide mass shields. Now, these compositions not involving Xingqiu are separated further into the Electro teams and non-Electro teams. Starting with the Electro teams, which are further separated into the Taser and Turbo teams. The Taser team simply involves a heavy burst Electro character like Beidou and Hey, I think we got some inconsistencies in the script. What? Just roll with it? Okay. Simply enough, the Taser build focuses on an extra Electro charge and or vaporize and or overload or whatever you need. And what's nice is that the Thundering Fury artifact set works very well with this type of team. This is even more so with the Turbo composition. This one mainly involves Fischl. The reason why it's called a Turbo comp is because whenever Oz triggers an Overload or Superconduct, he will generate multiple elemental particles based on how many enemies the explosion hits. This gives the entire team more energy recharge to work with for more burst usage. The other two characters simply complement this extra energy recharge in some sort of fashion. Finally, the compositions that truly do not use Xingqiu or Electro mainly consist of monocomps and Zhongling. They either use a Viridescent Venerer support and an extra element, or a double Geo monocomp composition to help add extra shields and damage for Hu Tao. And yeah, that's the current extent of her team compositions at the moment.
Hey Zhongli, Lan says there's a lot of dying going on in this area. Wanna go see if we have new clients?
Yes, sure. I don't see why not.
5 minutes later.
So how'd it go?
Nothing much. Just a Geo-Bishop.
Huh, I wonder what the big deal is.
Yes, I don't really know. I really don't know what the problem is. Overall, Hu Tao is the most mobile DPS in the game that is also very hard to play. Oh boy. She allows the people who play her to glide around the battlefield with relative ease and deal damage in her wake. With sufficient teams and builds, she can be your first pure Pyro DPS character, just like how she is for me. Okay, for the last time, Amber does not count. Alright, there you go, cool.
Alright, it's this time. Akinbar.
Did you just make it through my 18-minute long video? If you got this far, thank you so much for watching. This took a while to create, and I hope you can appreciate the work as much as I did working on it. Anyway, big special thanks to the people at the Hu Tao Mains Discord server. Raisuke, who recommended me, Vince, who literally battered my outline, Vyrant, who gave me the Constellation 6 clips, Mr. Muff for some editing help and the Constellation 1 clip, Smug for the last skit and Constellation 4 clip and he even helped me get 36 stars in the Spiral Abyss, so shout out to you. You got Pon-E who voiced Qiqi and Rad who voiced Hu Tao. I voiced Zhongli because I wanted it to be Zhongli. Big thank you to the rest of the Hu Tao mains who battered my outline. The outline will be in the description below if you want to see. That is the same for the Hu Tao mains Discord server. And everyone who has social media I will put in the description as well. If you like this video and want to see more content like this, please like, comment, and subscribe so that this can reach more people and it will make me work harder, and then you can catch up on all the stuff that I'm doing. I also have my own Discord that will be also in that description. We do stuff. You can watch me edit there. It's very fun. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time when I make my next video.